Welcome back to the virtual lab, everyone. I'm so stoked you could join me today for what is going to be a truly mind-bending explainer. As your resident marine biologist, I'm taking you on an expedition to literally the most alien, extreme, and unforgiving environment on our entire planet. We're going to examine 20 incredible and honestly, sometimes terrifying biological specimens pulled straight from the deepest abyss on Earth. So grab your virtual lab codes, because we are diving right in. 11,000. That's the depth in meters of the Mariana Trench. It is the absolute deepest place on Earth. To give you a sense of what survival actually means down there, just imagine an environment where a single ray of sunlight never, ever reaches. Temperatures? They perpetually hover just a tiny fraction above freezing. And the pressure? Well, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than what you and I are feeling right now at sea level. That is literally enough force to crush a human being instantly.
Let's put that into perspective. If you took Mount Everest, the absolute tallest peak on the face of the Earth, and you dropped it straight down into the Mariana Trench, not only would the entire mountain fit inside, but its peak would still be covered by more than 2 kilometers of water. It's this vast, pitch-black world that feels way more like a distant planet than our own ocean. And yet, against all biological odds, life actually thrives here.
So here's our syllabus for today's expedition. We're grouping these bizarre specimens by their evolutionary adaptations. We'll start off with the cleanup crew, then we'll move on to predators of the dark, marvel at some biological marvels, and finally, look ahead at the undiscovered abyss. All right, step right over to our first lab station. Section 1, the cleanup crew, surviving on scraps. We're looking at the scavengers that miraculously managed to keep the abyss clean. Now, you might be wondering, without a single ray of sunlight, there's absolutely no plant life, no photosynthesis. So what on earth are these deep-sea creatures actually eating? Well, they rely on something we scientists call marine snow. It's basically tiny bits of organic matter constantly drifting down from above. That, and the massive sunken carcasses of dead whales and fish that plummet all the way down into the abyss. You see, extreme pressure and near-constant starvation force some pretty bizarre physical adaptations. Take the sea pig. It's got this transparent body with tube-like legs, and it just crawls through the mud looking for organic scraps. It's totally harmless, but man, the sight of hundreds of them grazing in herds in pitch darkness, kinda unsettling. Then we have the giant amphipod. Up at the surface, its relatives are just tiny shrimps, but down here, it grows to over 30 centimeters long. It's this enormous size adapted specifically to gorge on those dead whales we just talked about. And you absolutely can't miss the giant isopod. This guy looks like a prehistoric armored tank. That incredibly thick shell protects it, and get this, it can survive for months, sometimes even years, without eating a single meal. But honestly, my absolute favorite of the cleanup crew has to be the zombie worm. This bizarre little animal completely lacks a mouth and a stomach. I mean, how does it even eat, right? Well, it uses acid-producing roots to literally dissolve the bones of dead whales resting on the ocean floor. Then, it relies on special bacteria living inside of its own body to digest those nutrients. It is nature's creepy, morbid recycling system, and it's absolutely vital for the deep-sea ecosystem. Okay, let's move over to our next lab station. Section 2, Predators of the Dark, Hunting Blind. Fair warning, class, the creatures in this section have evolved some seriously terrifying biological weapons to hunt in the pitch black.
Welcome to our predator threat board. The anatomical extremes here are just horrifying. The black swallower, it has an expandable stomach that lets it eat prey more than twice its own length. But its fatal flaw is that sometimes it eats so much that decomposition gases from its giant meal cause it to float uncontrollably right up to the surface. Then there's the gulper eel, using its enormous jaws and a glowing tail lure to trap anything that wanders nearby. The fang-toothed fish boasts teeth so incredibly massive that they literally require special brain sockets just to close its mouth. No joke. We also have the viperfish, an ambush predator with needle teeth too big for its mouth that attacks in less than a single second. And finally, the incredibly eerie tripod fish. Its greatest weapon is pure patience. It balances perfectly still on 3 elongated fins, kind of like stilts on the seabed, just waiting for food to bump right into it.
All this extreme adaptation leads to a pretty incredible realization. The deep sea is essentially a giant time capsule. The environment down there is so stable that it actually preserves living fossils. I'm talking about species like the Goblin Shark and the frilled shark that emerged over 125 million years ago during the age of the dinosaurs. While a massive asteroid wiped out the dinos on the surface, these deep-sea predators literally swam right through the apocalypse, and they remain largely unchanged to this very day. I mean, just look at these two prehistoric nightmares. The Goblin Shark features these horrifying extendable jaws. When prey gets close, those jaws physically shoot forward out of its face at lightning speed to snatch the meal and then snap right back into place. It is absolutely the stuff of nightmares. Compare that to the frilled shark, which honestly looks way less like a shark and more like an ancient sea serpent. It's armed with over 300 razor-sharp teeth arranged in rows. Watching one glide through the dark is basically witnessing prehistoric history alive and well in the modern day.
And of course, no syllabus on deep-sea predators would be complete without the most famous monster of them all, the deep-sea anglerfish. The large female carries a glowing, bioluminescent lure right on her head to attract prey straight into her enormous razor-sharp maw. Once those teeth slam shut, escape is mathematically impossible. But the most bizarre part of all this? The mating ritual. Look, finding a mate in the pitch black is tough, so when a tiny male finally finds a female, he bites onto her and permanently attaches himself. He loses his eyes, loses his fins, and literally fuses into her bloodstream. He becomes nothing more than a living, incredibly clingy parasite used strictly for reproduction. Talk about attachment issues, right?
All right, let's step over to our third station. Section 3, Biological Marvels, Defying Convention. The specimens we're going to look at next completely challenge our fundamental understanding of biology.
Nature really is the ultimate engineer. Just look at the bare-eye fish here. Its entire forehead is completely transparent, kind of like a fighter jet canopy. Inside that clear dome are these bright green eyes that constantly rotate, allowing it to look directly upward through its own head to spot the silhouettes of prey. Unbelievable, right? And then you have the deep-sea dragonfish. Now, most deep-sea animals actually can't see the color red. So what did the dragonfish do? It evolved the ability to produce bioluminescent red light. It literally shines a red spotlight to illuminate its prey, and the prey has no idea it's even being watched. It's a built-in biological stealth night vision system that existed millions of years before human technology.
It's amazing how beauty intersects with hardcore survival down here. Take the Dumbo octopus, named for its cute Disney-like ear fins. It gracefully glides around the abyss, looking for worms where almost no other octopus can even survive. The bloody belly comb jelly is this glowing rainbow marvel, but that deep red stomach, that isn't just for show. It acts as a light-blocking curtain to hide the glowing prey it just swallowed so larger predators don't spot it. Clever. Then we have the snailfish. The Mariana Trench snailfish has actually evolved special molecules in its body that literally protect its proteins from unraveling under that crushing immense pressure. And the Hadal snailfish took it a step further. It completely ditched heavy bones for a soft body, allowing it to live at a record-breaking depth of 8,500 meters.
Okay, prepare to have your minds completely blown by this next one. The giant Xeno 4. This isn't a fish, it's not a jellyfish, it is a single-celled organism. Yep, one single cell. Yet it can grow to be larger than a basketball. I know, it's wild. Despite being just one single cell, it manages to create these intricate, delicate structures all across the trench floor, which in turn provide much-needed shelter for countless other tiny organisms. It defies literally everything we think we know about cellular biology.
Which brings us to our final station of this explainer. Section 4, the undiscovered abyss. What lies beneath? We've seen the scavengers, we've met the predators, and we've marveled at the biological oddities. But what about the things we haven't seen yet? Consider this incredibly humbling reality check, class. We have mapped the entire moon. We have sent spacecraft completely outside of our solar system, but that tiny, tiny sliver on the chart, that represents the portion of the Mariana Trench we have actually explored. The vast, overwhelming majority of our own planet's deepest ocean remains entirely untouched by human eyes. Every single time we send an expedition down there, we uncover species that completely defy logic, surviving pressures we once thought were scientifically impossible for life. And so, I want to leave you with this thought to ponder. The greatest monster of the Mariana Trench may not be one we've already discovered, but one still hiding in the darkness, waiting for humanity's next dive. This explainer is really just the tip of the iceberg. The deep sea is one of the last great frontiers on Earth, and it's just waiting for future biologists, maybe even some of you in this virtual lab right now, to uncover its next terrifying, marvelous secret. So class, my final question to you is, what do you think is waiting for us down there in the dark? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I will see you all in our next session.